This episode of the ZuLoo Poodcast is sponsored by ZuLoo Inc., a benefit corporation dedicated to the goal of universal access to toilets, hygiene, clean water and sanitation through the power of social enterprise. Learn more at ZuLoo.com.
Yeah, so you didn't grow up like dreaming about toilets and,
No.
How can we make toilets better for people? You just, kind of.
No, I did go to a toilet-themed wedding once, but that was long before my Toilet Board Coalition days.
Well, you need to tell us about that. That sounds fantastic.
Welcome to the ZuLoo Poodcast, where we talk all things poop, toilets, and sanitation. Through insightful news, impact stories, and quirky humor, we aim to discuss and highlight the critical role toilets play in whisking poop out of our lives, the impact toilets have, or lack thereof, in the health and wellness of humanity, and what ZuLoo is doing to help solve the current global sanitation crisis.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the ZuLoo Poodcast. I am here again with the lovely Darren and the amazing Suzanne. I just called you lovely.
I'll take it. I've been called other
phenomenal.
Yeah.
The phenomenal Darren.
That's right. We have a really great interview for you guys to listen to today. Man, guys, it's a Monday, I think. Is it Monday? I don't know what day it is.
It's still Monday. But you're watching this on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
So,
It all gets a little confusing.
It's all confusing.
But Alex with the Toilet Board Coalition, she joined us from Switzerland.
Yeah.
And just made us aware of some really, really cool things going on all over the world. We're going to jump into that. But first, Darren, tell us what product we are highlighting from the marketplace today.
We are excited about our new, one of our new marketplace partners, Peak Bioboost. It's
nice.
I mean, this just speaks my language because, I've been known to have some irregular bowel issues in the past, but this stuff is like a magic elixir for the bum. And
it has like a holy poop emoji on it.
The holy poop emoji on there.
It does? Let me see that.
Yeah, right there, golden.
Oh, it really does.
It's gold, baby,
awesome.
gold.
It's gold.
So if you want your poops like gold, you just need to get some Peak Bioboost. We're actually going to have Jeremy, the founder, on our podcast probably in a few weeks or maybe months, depending on where we are. Whenever Trevor can get around to getting him on, but come on, Trevor.
Whenever he's available.
To it, man.
But
whenever Jeremy's not on the toilet.
That's right. So yeah, I mean, it's flavorless, mixes with any kind of beverage, and it's just something to help your gut.
Is it like prebiotic?
Right. Yeah. So it helps make sure has a probiotic blend to make sure all the little critters in your gut are happy and working properly and all of that. Right. So, it just takes something like one scoop a day and and it doesn't even have any flavor to it. Of course, this is, obviously this is not medical advice. And if you're pregnant, all the warnings, whatever, but it's, if you're having bowel issues, then I would, you could
it's a great product.
Well, maybe Jeremy can help me understand the difference between prebiotic and probiotic. Because it seemed like for a while probiotics were the thing, and now they're not the thing. Now it's prebiotics. So I got some questions for Jeremy.
This does say prebiotic, but we can dive into that on that next episode. But anyway, they're new on the marketplace. You can check it out on the marketplace where every purchase you make helps us build our toilets, different projects, toilets, and of course we always have Who Gives a Crap on there, and I always love their fun party designs.
They make it easy for us to style the table because there's always cool patterns.
We can make a new display every time.
It's great.
So anyway, we're excited to have them on the marketplace, and
one of the many fantastic products ready for you to buy your friends and family Christmas gifts on the marketplace.
That's right. Or anytime. Or for World Toilet Day, right?
Yeah. That's right. World Toilet Day.
It already happened, but it's all, there's
World Toilet. Get ready for next year.
Hey, there's always next year.
That's right.
Educate people on it.
But World Toilets, toilets are, it's a daily occurrence. It's not, you don't have to wait once a year. It's a daily thing, right? So
for most of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Poo News.
Okay. Poo News. We're going to do a little, Do you know when toilet paper was invented? When was toilet paper invented? Do you know?
That's a fantastic question.
Yes.
And what were they doing before it was invented?
I don't want to talk about it.
Are we talking about toilet paper in the form that we know it now?
I would say
right. I mean, that you would recognize as probably toilet paper.
Okay, so
corn husks were used in the past.
hey, that actually, I can see why that makes sense.
Well, people have used all kinds of things: stones, sticks,
Leaves.
Leaves.
I'm
Whatever.
trying to think back to Downton Abbey. If they ever showed a restroom and if there was toilet paper in it, I don't think there was. So I'm going to say like the early. Well, I don't want to say the.
Give me a
30s.
ballpark date, like history.
I mean, they had to have it at World War I, right? I don't know.
Okay, the earliest reference is from China
Okay.
in the 6th century.
Really?
References were made to paper used for such purposes.
Oh, I'm way off.
Okay,
I am way off. Those Chinese were inventing noodles back then.
And by
they were way ahead
by
of us.
1300, right?
Okay.
Like when our ancestors were running around killing each other in the Dark Ages, right? The Chinese were, they were using toilet paper. Amazing. They talked about they have records showing that they, 700,000 sheets of toilet paper for general use by the emperor.
700,000. Wow.
They
They even have a number.
Yeah. How,
Right.
how do they know
How
that?
bizarre.
Right. I
is
mean, they're
that? I know.
documenting all this stuff, right? That's how we know, right?
They kept records of how many sheets of toilet paper the emperor used.
Yeah, and there were another record shows 15,000 sheets made for exclusive use of the imperial family were 3-inch by 3-inch, light yellow in color, and thick, soft, and perfumed.
Wow.
1,300. Okay.
And they were.
My
3
ancestors
inch
were
by
using
3 inch,
rocks.
yellow.
Yeah.
Up in the highlands of Scotland somewhere, they were using rocks. But these
and
the
perfumed.
Chinese,
Wow.
thick, soft, and perfumed toilet paper.
So I wonder, was it more like fabric? And was it disposable, or are we somehow reusing this?
It says paper. So
Paper.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyway,
We don't
then
even
later,
have perfume stuff now. do we?
I don't know that I need it.
I know. Well, and
Well,
I don't
they
know
do
that you
have, like,
want it.
scented
Yeah, they
toilet
do
paper.
have some scented, but
So then, we have
Amazing.
we have other documentation of as paper become more. It really had to do with how ubiquitous paper in general was, right? Because the Dark Ages. I mean, who had paper? Nobody had paper. Maybe the king did, but by at least in the United States, by the early 18th century, there was.
I was going to say the 18th century.
There were more and more newspapers and catalogs, and so the Sears Roebuck catalog became a very popular use as toilet paper.
So that stack of magazines was
right.
It wasn't for reading.
Yeah.
it had a dual role.
And the
bathroom.
Farmer's Almanac as well. They actually started putting a hole in the corner of the magazine to use so it could be hung in the outhouse on a hook, so it could be both read while on the toilet and then obviously used for toilet paper.
Multifunctional.
Yeah, multifunctional.
So these aren't being used in flush toilets because that wouldn't work.
Right.
These are just outhouses.
In the modern age, what you would recognize as a toilet paper roll, it says Joseph Gaetti is widely considered the father of modern toilet paper. He, thanks to the Library of Congress, he applied for a patent and used it to, actually promoted it as such, right? This is for the toilet. This is paper on a roll for the toilet, right? And so, he says, hey, recycled catalogs, newspapers, probably hazardous for your health, printed paper, with the ink and all that stuff. It's not the best, right, for your bum, right? So he started selling this toilet paper. And
doesn't sound like a bidet.
It doesn't sound efficient.
Right.
Doesn't sound like a bidet.
No.
Right. So, he had a roll of aloe infused toilet paper. This is like the early 20th century. So, so we've kind of come a long ways. they had, and
there
then
are LO wipes now, right? So we've come full circle with that. LO.
Yeah, people have started to use wipes, although those are bad for.
Yes.
Yeah, don't use those.
Bad. They're bad.
Bad for the system.
Don't believe what it says that it's flushable.
Yeah, they're not really flushable.
Yeah, 3 out of 4 plumbers don't recommend it.
Yes.
Anyway, so there's a little bit of history, a little bit of history there.
Interesting.
We'll put a link to this article so you can dive deeper if you want. But anyway, so a little history there. Also, speaking of innovation, we've got the Toilet Board Coalition on, Alex, right? And what's cool about them is they have they're always looking for innovators and people that are really using the private marketplace to really drive innovation. And this is something
their program's amazing how they work.
Right. Yeah. How they take entrepreneurs and help them launch. But here's a speaking of technology. Here is, these are lights that are made from gas from the toilet, right? Like the light.
They're like powered by gas,
right? So poo powered lights, soft glowing lights powered by energy harvested from human waste. Could set the mood everywhere from nightclubs to living rooms, according to a new innovator designed by Philips, which is Philips light bulbs. They're pretty much everywhere. Their
household name.
Yeah, they're hand blown glass cells filled with the culture of bioluminescent bacteria that are fed via silicon tubes connected to the source of methane gas harvested from body waste.
Unbelievable.
Right.
Do you have a picture?
Yeah. So here's a picture of them. Now they're not, it's not the type of light that would light up a room.
Kind of looks like the Matrix.
But they say, they say that it would illuminate like signs at night,
like a good night light,
like runways and like, it just puts off a very pale green, kind of like glow in the dark stuff, right? So it's not going to light up your room, but at least it'll help illuminate
a walkway
signs in the dark, or walkways at night, or roadway stripes, different things like that.
So this is like bioluminescence, like you see in the ocean at night. Those cool when the waves come up and it's that beautiful green glow that are basically feeding off methane gas from human waste.
Exactly right.
So where is the waste being held, and how is it pumped into these lights?
Well, they put it into the light when
it's actually in the bulb.
They put it in the.
There's poop in the bulb.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Maybe I don't know the science.
I need more details.
Okay,
this is something we got to dig into.
Yeah, hand blown glass cells, right? Filled with a culture of bioluminescent bacteria that are fed via silicon tubes. So there is something being piped to them,
right?
Fed via silicon tubes connected to a source of methane gas from the toilet.
Right.
So
Trevor's like, our camera guy is dying over here. I can just imagine what he's thinking about, like, where are these tubes coming? Are they connected to the toilet?
Yeah. So where's this big reserve of poop?
Yeah. So maybe it could be hooked up to your bathroom, right? And so the gas is coming out of your bathroom. Could be piped into these little.
Is this going to be smelly?
Well, I'm wondering,
as long as it stays in the pipes,
right? Got to keep it in the pipes.
Okay, I need a network map of these pipes, and
it's called the BioLight.
Where it's happening. It's an amazing idea.
Yeah.
I want to
break it down how it's
the logistics.
They say that bioluminescent lighting is too low intensity for functional illumination, but it could help light up like the edge of a road, like we're saying, or power signs.
Kind of like reflectors. That kind of a wattage.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's
the wattage from
another use of human waste, right? Some biogas lights.
So glad there's smarter people.
Maybe you should do like some Christmas lights, that are powered that way.
Poop-powered Christmas lights.
I would buy some.
We'll be selling them on the marketplace in a year.
Maybe so.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
You'd be surprised.
Well, okay.
What you find there, right?
Let's
Speaking of innovation.
Yeah,
right?
let's hop into the interview with Alex. She is going to tell us more about the Toilet Board Coalition and what they're doing to help entrepreneurs in the sanitation space who are making huge inroads. It's really, really cool. So let's go over there.
Let's do it. She's amazing.
Hey everyone, welcome to this fantastic episode of the ZuLoo Poodcast. We are joined today by Alex. And Alex, I'm going to let you pronounce your last name when I hand it over to you because I don't want to mess it up. But she is with the Toilet Board Coalition, and we've got some really, really great things to talk about with her. And so excited that she's joining us today. Alex, I'm going to hand it over to you. I would love to hear a little bit about your background and like how you ended up in the sanitation space.
Sure. So my name is Alex Knezovich.
And
yeah. And I acquired the name through marriage. So I can't tell you too much about it. But yes. And I came to the Toilet Board Coalition 8 years ago, actually. So I knew someone had introduced me to the woman that was our CEO at the time. And I was working with her on a board for another water-focused NGO. And she recruited me over to the Toilet Board Coalition, and I've been here ever since, working on accelerating business solutions to the sanitation crisis.
Did you always know you wanted to end up there? Or like, how did you get there?
Do any of us? No, actually. So I studied more theater and film production, actually, and lived and worked in New York and kind of started gravitating towards entrepreneurship and communications. And then it was actually when I moved to Switzerland over a decade ago that I got more into the development space and into water and sanitation. And then kind of just where it took me.
Yeah. So P.S. everyone, she lives in Switzerland. She gets to live in Switzerland. I'm just going to leave that right there. Go ahead, Darren.
Yeah. So you didn't grow up like dreaming about toilets and,
no.
How can we make toilets better for people? You just kind of.
No, I did go to a toilet themed wedding once. But that was long before my Toilet Board Coalition days.
Oh my gosh.
Well, you need to tell us about that. That sounds fantastic.
Well, how did that play out in a wedding?
It was in Minnesota. I was going with a friend who was invited to the wedding. And apparently the bride had a dream of a toilet with flowers coming out of it. And then soon after, she met a plumber and they fell in love. And so they themed their wedding around toilet. They have matching tattoos of toilets with flowers coming out. And that was a theme of the decor and the cake. And
wait, the cake was the cake like a
was like a toilet shape, like a toilet seat.
Wow.
That
sounds wonderful.
I know.
I mean, I have a whole new appreciation for it now, let's say.
I mean, that is going all in on a theme, and good for them. I mean, even committing with the tattoos. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Jocelyn, if you get married again, you should really consider that. I
Okay.
mean,
I'll put that in my someday notebook.
ZuLoo would sponsor your wedding. It would totally be all over it.
Hey, if we can go to Switzerland, I'll do whatever you guys want.
And we could do it in Switzerland.
Okay. I'm totally down. Okay, so Alex, you've made your way through. You took a circuitous route to the Toilet Board Coalition, but tell us a little more about it. Like, what is? I've been on your website this morning checking it out, but tell our listeners, what do you guys do?
Yeah, so we were founded in 2015 by leading multinational corporations like Unilever, Kimberly-Clark, and Lixol to accelerate business solutions around sanitation. And so how we do that is through an accelerator, as you might guess, that works with local sanitation entrepreneurs to help them grow their businesses faster. So the entrepreneurs go through 2 tracks during the accelerator program. They work with our team on their unit economics, mapping out their pathway to scale, investor readiness training. And then at the same time, they're working on a bespoke work plan with a corporate mentor from the likes of Unilever. So maybe they want to do a logo redesign, or they're looking at their supply chain. Well, then they have an expert from Unilever, for example, that's helping them navigate that throughout the year. So bringing in the skills of the private sector to the sanitation crisis rather than kind of just the capital, which is what they're often looked to. So we work on the capital too. But so that's what we do. To date, we've graduated, in like 2 weeks, we will have graduated 70 entrepreneurs that are impacting on a daily basis about 2.4 million individuals around the world. And we've enabled 22 million of investment into those businesses.
That's incredible. So where do you guys operate? Is it in certain countries or is it all over?
It's all over. So we were founded as a global program. Our headquarters are Switzerland. But most of our team, for instance, is in the markets where the entrepreneurs are. So we have just a few in Switzerland, and then we're across, I think, 9 different countries, and we're just a team of 14. So we're quite well spread out. But we have 80 members, and we work incredibly closely with them. So the mentors are all coming from the countries where the multinationals operate. And then there's NGOs in our coalition and academics and a whole wide variety of organizations. So we lean on them a lot in the program, which is why we can be such a small team.
Well, and so that was one thing I wanted to ask about. As Darren and I have interviewed lots of people from all over the world, helping to solve this sanitation crisis, the challenges are so unique to the geography. People in India are dealing with different issues than people in Honduras or Peru or Zambia. It's, everywhere you go, it's a little bit different. And, there's cultural factors to consider. There's environmental factors to consider. So it sounds like you guys do have people in place that will understand each of these specific challenges for wherever these entrepreneurs are trying to, operate.
Absolutely. But honestly, the entrepreneurs know a lot of that themselves. Mm-hmm. That's kind of often where they come to it from. They have a deep understanding of their culture. They have a deep understanding of their customer. And where we can come in is to bring in some of that business perspective, the business training, and sometimes kind of the global perspective of how can we leverage what we've learned and tried in another geography into yours, or how can we take what you're doing and you can collaborate with someone else in another country. You guys pair up your technologies, or you learn from their business model, or things like that. So they have deep local expertise. We also work with a lot of amazing NGOs like WaterAid, UNICEF, PSI, etc., that have been working in these countries for decades. And so they can bring technical expertise or, relationships with the government or things like that if we don't have that. And what we focus on is really how can we bring what, business can uniquely bring to this problem, which in many cases is innovation, scale, speed, that kind of thinking from a business lens. As we look at the sanitation crisis, many of the entrepreneurs come from an engineering background, or they have like a personal passion story. So they're not sometimes well versed in building a business. Sometimes they are. Sometimes they've had a manufacturing business, and then they discovered, or were kind of faced with the sanitation reality, and they went, "Wait, I want to tackle this problem." And then they bring those skills, and we see those businesses grow really fast. But for others, if they don't have that, that's where a program like ours can come in to really make sure that they grow and reach more customers in their community as quickly as possible.
Mm-hmm. What's your typical entrepreneur look like? I mean, just like a one person type organization, or are they sometimes more developed than that?
Often they're more developed than that. So they need to, for our program, they need to be beyond kind of the pilot stage. They need to have a customer base. Usually they have a small team around them. Sometimes, increasingly we're seeing the market mature. So we're seeing bigger businesses enroll in the program and interested to kind of figure out maybe what's their next move. So they've conquered some territory, and where do they go next? But I mean, the portfolio is about 40% female-led businesses, which is awesome. And almost entirely from the communities where they have the business. And often an engineering background, sometimes architecture or manufacturing or something like that. There's a wide variety. Many of us come to sanitation from somewhere else.
Yeah, all roads lead to the toilet eventually.
Lead to the toilet.
If you're not there yet, you'll get there quickly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I would love to hear if you could, share some specific examples. We know that sanitation affects females differently than males for lots of reasons. And so I loved hearing that 40% of your entrepreneurs are female. Do you have some specific examples of, some of their innovative ideas, their businesses, and how you guys are helping to, helping them progress?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's an incredible team. We see a lot of co-founders teams, which is great. I think particularly in sanitation because there is a lot of expertise needed, both from a technical perspective, but then kind of a business side too. So there's an amazing team. Farhana is the entrepreneur's name. She leads a business called Bhumijo in Bangladesh. She comes from an architecture background. Her husband from more of the business side, and they've led this business that's grown quite remarkably over the last few years around public toilets. Looking at how they can really transform the operations around a public toilet to offer better services to their community. We see a lot of businesses, or we've had a number of businesses through the program also around menstrual health. So there's some incredible innovation happening in the menstrual health space. Flushable pads, pads that dissolve in water, other kinds of technological innovations around the materials being used in the pads to make it more sustainable and compostable or biodegradable and different things like that. So as you might guess, a lot of those businesses are women-led, but not all of them, which is awesome. One of an incredible business called Pad Care Labs that's based out of India is run by an incredible guy, and what they collect menstrual waste from different businesses around their area, and then they upcycle that into, gosh, I hope I'm doing them justice here. They upcycle it into like materials that can be reused in production. So paper product, paper pulps, or I believe there's a plastic output as well. But they're amazing. They did really well on India Shark Tank India.
That's amazing.
Yeah, they're doing really, really well. So there's a lot of great women-led businesses, whether it's toilet operations or treatment or the menstrual health space. Women are out there doing great work.
Awesome.
Well, what's the most interesting or innovative company that you've had come through the program? I mean, there may be several, but what are there some that stand out to you?
In a lot of ways, what we see, because we're focused, like, okay, there's the Gates Reinvent the Toilet, which is a program which, of course, totally dissected and reimagined maybe what a toilet could be or something like that.
I'm sorry, did you say the Gates, like Bill and Melinda?
Gates,
okay.
Yes, Gates Foundation. Our work is often more on the business model side. So what's innovative about the businesses we're working with isn't necessarily the product that they're selling, but maybe the way they've built a business model around a toilet product or where their business is. So maybe they're serving customers that no one else can reach and make a business survive, but they've figured out a way to do that. So a lot of times we see the innovation on those fronts. One of the businesses we worked with, we partnered with the European Space Agency, and which was an unlikely partner, let's say, but they're really interested in bringing space technology to Earth for development purposes. And so we worked with this company called Mindseed, and they developed a floating laboratory that can go in the waste, in like a waste receptacle, and can diagnose and analyze the waste down to a quite small particle amount. which when we think about wastewater testing across, the pandemic, and how we've been started to monitor a community's health through its wastewater, a technology that can do that on the edge without without needing a lot of electricity, that is cheap, that is replicable, and could be deployed so that all samples weren't having to go to a lab to be analyzed. It would drastically change the scale that we could achieve in terms of that wastewater monitoring and the understanding of the community's health, and then early warnings for antimicrobial resistance or other diseases or things like that are out there. So I think there's a lot we'll see in that space. And what we're really focused on is how can we make sure that innovation is not just in Europe and the Americas, but also in the countries, how do we leapfrog the new toilets that are being built to be the better toilets, not just what we might already have. Yeah.
We've been privileged to interview a number of people who are in that analysis phase of the sanitation, like all the different ways that there is a wealth of information in our waste. And it's something we, probably don't think about, but we can learn so much from what comes out of us as to our health, our, both individual and in our communities. That's fascinating. The fact that it's like space and sanitation coming together to tell us what's, going right or going wrong with our bodies. That's incredible.
Yeah.
It'll
be interesting.
We seem, there's a lot of people we've interviewed that are in the cutting edge, like future technologies, but we've also found that a lot of the solutions that could be implemented like here and now today in a lot of these areas are very low tech, very simple technologies, but yet the application, and that's why it sounds like that's what the Toilet Board Coalition is about, is like, hey, we already have the answers. We don't have to reinvent the wheel or reinvent the toilet necessarily. We just have to, how do we get it into the hands of and into the use of people that actually need it, right? In a profitable, sustainable way, right?
Exactly, and I think that, Darren, is really key in a sustainable way at minimum, because we know what happens when toilets aren't maintained. Is no one ends up using them. They become storage closets or dangerous holes in the ground. So, and then profitable, because particularly, I guess really the theory of change around the Toilet Board Coalition is once these are viable businesses, once we have a what we call a thriving sanitation economy around the world, that becomes commercially investable, and then this problem can be solved a lot faster. But when with a philanthropic approach, it's important. It's played a very important role. I don't want to devalue that, of course, but we have to transition this to a market-based approach globally. And there may always be a role for philanthropy in sanitation, of course. But when we look at the 3.5 billion people that are not yet touched by sanitation globally, we see that at least 1 billion of those could be reached through a market-based approach. And so our focus is on that 1 billion. And so our 2030 target is to accelerate 1,000 businesses that are serving 1 billion people, basically that 1 billion of that SDG, because that's just our slice of the pie and what we were created to do. And there's incredible work that others are doing around us that complement that.
So I want to hit on that 2030 target, because I noticed on your site, you guys are trying to work yourselves into extinction. That's kind of what it sounded like. It said by 2030, we expect that the Toilet Board Coalition won't exist because we are only in business as long as the sanitation crisis lasts. That's 3 years away. We're coming up on just 6 years. So how's that going?
Yeah, it's going well. We just launched the strategy last year. So we have 7 years yet to accomplish it. But I think, that's a bit what business brings to this, is you have to have an exit strategy. and be able to recognize when you're done. And ideally, the market hits a tipping point where we're not necessary. We're attracting the brightest minds and entrepreneurs into the sanitation space, so they don't need more business training. Investment is flowing readily into the sector, so they don't need us to help prep them and matchmake and, build innovative financing mechanisms for them. So that's what we're aiming for. We've kind of had to turn our acceleration lens on ourselves to figure out how that happens. So instead of looking at, just the SMEs, then how do their models grow to accommodate that? We have to look at ourselves, because right now we're graduating 12 entrepreneurs this World Toilet Day, but that's, we're on our way to 1,000, but not fast enough. So looking at what we can do over the next 7 years to really expand our capacity to take in more entrepreneurs and to have this kind of programming reach a much wider audience, because the demand is out there. We have almost 300 entrepreneurs apply to the program for next year. And we will take in perhaps 10% of that will actually make it into the program, because they have our capacity as an organization, and then also corporate mentors to bring their expertise to the table. So we're working on changing that, acquiring the resourcing to grow our capacity, and then also reaching out to new corporations to bring in the mentorship skills that those entrepreneurs need.
So what? So if an entrepreneur is watching the show and learning about the Toilet Board Coalition, what kind of criteria do they have to have in mind? Sounds like you'd said earlier they should have at least a customer base, at least hit the ground running. It's not like some think tank where you're dreaming up new toilet ideas, but you actually have to have a existing business looking to scale, right? Essentially.
Precisely. I think existing business being is definitely one of the top criteria. Secondly, is that you're serving low income customers, because that's what we're created for. And then that we're interested in that you're doing it in an innovative way. So maybe that's a product, but maybe it's the business model, or maybe it's where you're doing it that's innovative. And then what we do in the selection process is we first there's an application that runs from February to April each year. So if there's an entrepreneur listening, follow the Toilet Board Coalition on LinkedIn and you won't miss anything. But we go through that list of let's say those 300 entrepreneurs. Then we select usually around 50, although that we feel are really ready for the program. And now is the time. And then we'll present those to our corporates. They'll do further interviews and due diligence, and we do further due diligence. And then we matchmake basically between, what does that entrepreneur said they need? What's the expertise they're looking for? And do we have a corporation that has that expertise they can bring to the table? And then that results in, let's say in this case, 20 to 30 matches. But there's a lot of really good businesses left on the table there. There's 20 to 30 that could have come into the program if we had more corporate mentors and more capacity. And then there's also the other 250 that maybe weren't quite ready yet, but if they had a little bit of training, or they could be ready for the program. And so we're looking at also how can we step into that space to make more of what we do in the program available to those that maybe want to learn on their own pace, and then could enter it at a later stage.
So are you all... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
It's exciting you have that many, that much demand, right? For that many entrepreneurs.
Well, it's grown over the years. And I think, frankly, we have a lot to thank of our corporate members, because they're really interesting. The idea of getting, someone that's leading a brand at Unilever that is really a marketing genius to work with you for a year on your marketing plan is a really unique offer that not a lot. I mean, there's not that we know of another sanitation accelerator that offers that. There are in others. We were really modeled for other sectors and how we'd seen renewable energy or some of other tech sectors kind of space evolve their market, and kind of go, okay, what can we learn from that and bring that into sanitation to attract that attention? So we're fortunate over the last 8 years to have built a strong brand that has a great audience and a good appeal. And we see it changing year over year. I think last year we had probably 170 or maybe 200 applications. And so this year that's quite good growth. And we're humbled by it and motivated by it because we want to meet the demand.
You guys are almost like a dating service for entrepreneurs.
Basically. Yeah. And then investors and entrepreneurs. I think we do host events on occasion. And this year we structured one of the sessions in an event as a dating game, basically, because I think it's just sort of on the mind. I guess.
The analogy works really, really well.
Yeah.
So
we build bridges, let's say. Yeah.
Are you looking to take on more corporate mentors as well? Or are you like, these are our 80 and this is who we are going to stick with? Or
definitely. Yeah, absolutely. So we've been working a lot this year to connect with other corporates and to help them understand the opportunity. For many, I think this is changing. Definitely with climate conversations, water stewardship is top of mind for many corporations, but sanitation is still, the other child, basically.
The unsexy cousin.
Yeah, precisely. I was trying not to be too specific about them, but yes. And so to see, there's incredible stories in sanitation around nutrients, around health data, around dignity and livelihoods and climate implications. And so how can we tell those stories in a better way and attract more engagement into sanitation from the corporate world? And then also we're a pretty unique program in that we're an NGO, but we're a coalition, but we're an accelerator. So figuring out, we don't really fit into maybe what some corporates would think of in terms of their CSR projects, but maybe not quite ESG, because we're not so philanthropic, but it's a mentorship program. And so we've been looking at that a lot of how do we connect with that audience and attract more than just the usual suspects. But yeah, we're absolutely open and very interested in working with any and all corporations.
Yeah, I just love the approach because I think most of the time people kind of gravitate toward, oh, this is a philanthropic thing. We have to, give these toilets away. But yeah, we found that most of the successful programs have been based upon private enterprise. Those innovations, that profit motive has to be there. Otherwise, you build a toilet block in India, and within a few years, number one, it's not sustained. Number two, it gets filled with firewood or animals instead, and because nobody had to pay for it, right? It was just given to them. Whereas, individual ownership, private enterprise seems to be the motivating factor.
And the education and the relationship that comes with that, I think too, is really important. So, for instance, there's an amazing business in Madagascar called EcoDio, and they do pit emptying, and then they transform the waste that they're collecting into compost. And what they saw in operating their business, one of the greatest barriers to their effective operations was that all of the women were just dropping their pads into the toilet, into the pit latrine. And that was clogging their pumping machines and really slowing down their efficiency as a business. And so they started selling menstrual cups and teaching their customers how to use them and educating them about them. And that takes someone that knows the community. That takes someone that's really invested in the continued operations of their business and the continued operations of those toilets. And one story, we have probably countless more. But we're also seeing a lot of those that previously approached it from a philanthropic perspective starting to look at, oh, we need to be working with local entrepreneurs because we need to be able to prove 10 years down the line that toilet's still operating. And the only way we can do that is if or the most efficient way to do that is if we're working with a local entrepreneur. So I think we'll continue to see this transform. I mean, what we've even seen over the last 5 years in terms of the approaches in the sanitation sector is moving much more towards private sector and how can we engage the private sector, but how also can the private sector be a part of the solution where appropriate. Yeah.
That's awesome. And so this World Toilet Day, you have how many entrepreneurs are graduating?
Yeah, we have 12 entrepreneurs graduating.
Okay.
I think from quite a few countries. Probably 9. I'm second guessing if it's exactly 9, but around 9 different countries, from Indonesia all the way to Peru, and trying to find a time zone for that graduation ceremony is a challenge. But yeah, and we'll have they and their mentors and sharing about their experiences in the program, and then we announce the cohort for 2024 at the same time. So what we've done on World Toilet Day for the last 8 years, it's sort of like Christmas for the sanitation sector, I figure. Yeah.
Darren and I have a mission to make World Toilet Day as popular as Thanksgiving. It's not just, another day in November. It is a full-on holiday that should be celebrated.
Thanksgiving has a lot going for it on the food front.
Yeah, we should move it to the day. We should move it to the day after Thanksgiving.
After Thanksgiving, yes.
Very day
and then
after.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Forget Black Friday. Let's just do
exactly.
Toilet Day.
All right. Well, Alex, we have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your time and these incredible stories. And, like Darren said, I think this approach it's the key to making this work. Showing people that they not only have a sustainable sanitation solutions, but, a sustainable business model that influences their entire community. It's brilliant. And we are excited to hear more about what happens with you guys and hope that you hit that 2030 target. And then what? You retire in Switzerland and hang out with, I don't know. What do you do in 2031?
We'll see. I'm sure we'll think of something.
Well, if you have a retirement party and you need people to come, we're there.
Okay. Noted.
Okay.
Noted. I'll bring toilets with flowers coming out of them.
Yes. Oh my gosh. This story is writing itself. It's kind of amazing. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Yeah, it was great.
Right?
Alex is so knowledgeable.
And she gets to live in Switzerland.
I know.
I want to be friends with her for many reasons, but it doesn't hurt that she lives in Switzerland.
Right.
But anyway, Toilet
what
Board
better place
Coalition.
What a better place to have the base a toilet company or innovation than Switzerland, right?
Right.
It's like the Swiss Army knife.
I was just going to say.
Came from there.
Yeah. I mean, they have a history of like high-end awesome stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And this is following suit. They're working with people all across the globe, helping them to get their businesses from, all these different points to really, really thriving.
Yeah.
And it was cool to hear how they're empowering people with fantastic mentors. The mentor program sounds really, really cool.
Yeah. And how she said just last month that she said it was 70 different entrepreneurs that they've helped now get their products out there and that they don't just help them with the money, they help them with the skills of like how to do it like locally in each place. And they do the partnership again, which is great. And the other thing was, remember how they talked about that 40% of these entrepreneurs are women.
Yeah, that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
So. Apparently women poop too. I did not.
I know.
Trevor didn't.
Newsflash, everyone.
Oh, were you blown away? I was blown away. I'm like, what?
Where did that idea start? I've been hearing that since high school. Girls don't poop. Oh, really?
I've actually
How
never heard that concept.
So beautiful
really?
do that. I mean,
is that what it is?
That's what it is. It's like surely that's
Yeah,
impossible.
but she was saying how.
Oh,
No,
trust me.
yeah.
It happens.
But yeah, I just love the Toilet Board Coalition, their whole approach to entrepreneurship, innovation. I mean, that's kind of our philosophy at ZuLoo. We think that private, social enterprise, market-driven solutions is really going to get this job done. And I love their slogan too. Please, their goal is to be out of business.
Yeah.
Right. Because if everybody had a toilet
by 2030, is that what it was? I think
It's something like that. Yeah, because I think I said we've only got 7 years.
We got to hurry up, right? We got a couple, billion people to get toilets for. But if everybody had a clean, safe place to go, we would be done. Mission accomplished, right? I don't know if that United Nations goal is going to get kicked down the road, but we'll see. But
I don't know. I have faith in amazing people. We'll see.
But to see the innovation happening. I mean, it's
enough people come to our marketplace.
That's right.
Enough products.
That's right. It's possible. It can definitely happen. Right.
Yeah.
So
we get the right people.
Anyway, we're excited to have partners like that, and it was a great interview.
It was a great interview. I feel really lucky to get to meet these people and hear about what they're doing and see where they live.
It's really inspiring, and it's so great to hear everybody's story because we didn't all start out, except for maybe Darren, being
enthusiastic about sanitation.
Sanitation and toilets. So her story was great, how she was doing something completely different and then got invited over to this. And now she's really passionate about it, which happens to all of us.
We all have our different strange paths to the same place.
All roads lead to toilets.
Yeah.
To ZuLoo.
Eventually you're going to make your way to a toilet. So
you're going to need to at some point.
All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the ZuLoo Poodcast. Follow us on social media at our links in the show notes below. To learn more, visit our website, ZuLoo.org. If you liked the podcast, be sure to subscribe, like, and comment. For even more ZuLoo fun, send us an email with your toilet stories to podcast@ZuLoo.com for a chance to be featured on the podcast. This episode of the ZuLoo Poodcast is sponsored by ZuLoo Inc., a benefit corporation dedicated to the goal of universal access to toilets, hygiene, clean water and sanitation through the power of social enterprise. Learn more at ZuLoo.com.